people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Xander Zayas versus Jaren Boots Ennis. Let's talk about the fight. In the build-up, I had my reservations as to whether or not this should have been a pay-per-view, whether or not both fighters had amassed enough of a following that they should be fighting each other behind a paywall. But during the fight, they delivered a pay-per-view worthy spectacle. Fight of the year, in my opinion, so far, 6 months into it. As the fighters' names are being announced and we're about to go into the very first round, I noticed that Jaren Ennis looked really relaxed, confident, whereas Zander looked a little bit tense, perhaps nervous, feeling the moment. There was a large Puerto Rican contingent in attendance to root their man on, like what you would expect in the tri-state area, where there's a large concentration of Puerto Rican fight fans. So the opening bell sounds, and the boys get to work right away. They got off to a faster start than I thought they would. No feel-out rounds in this one. Before you knew it, Zander and Jaren Ennis were trading punches mid-range to inside, and I thought Zander's spending a little bit too much time there too soon, too early. He's too willing to sell out and trade punches with Boots at the start of the fight. Almost immediately, you notice the difference in speed in the exchange between the fighters, that Boots' punches were noticeably shorter, sharper, and faster. Fast. Which is what I stated the day before the fight in my prediction video. In case you missed it, I said that I think Boots is going to have a bit more hand speed than Xander Zayas. That's going to make a difference. There's going to be a knockdown. I gave Boots' power the benefit of the doubt, that it would carry up from 147 up to 154, and that it would be a deciding factor in this fight, which it was. That's why he scored 3 knockdowns. First one very early in the fight, because as stated, I think Xander was holding his feet too much in the pocket, too willing to exchange too soon into the contest. I gave Jaren Ennis the first 2 rounds of the fight. I felt that he was winning those exchanges. He's a little bit too quick in the pocket for Zander, and Zander, try as he might, he's not landing the way that he needs to. So I gave Boots the first 2 rounds. Xander Zayas the third was his best round of the fight. Noticeably, buzzing Jaren Ennis off a hard counter, hurting Jaren Ennis. Didn't originally see that in my bingo card because Xander Zayas isn't the puncher of the two. He's not known as a knockout merchant or all that strong a guy. Xander's bread and butter is his movement and his boxing, his combinations, but not his power. So that he was able to hurt Jaren Ennis in the 3rd round took me by surprise. I think it took a lot of people by surprise. And it's definitely affected my perception of Boots' durability moving forward. That if he's ever in there with a stronger puncher than Zander, somebody who's more known for knockouts, what effect is that going to have? So I gave the 3rd round to Xander Zayas for obvious reasons, and I gave the 4th round to Xander Zayas. Some people didn't, but I did because Boots wasn't fully recovered from the 3rd round. Still trying to get his legs back under him as Xander Zayas was coming on, and I thought he was the more active fighter in the 4th, the busier fighter in the 4th, so I gave it to him. I gave Boots the first 2 rounds, 1 and 2. Xander Zayas rounds 3 and 4. Jaren Ennis is able to gather himself in round 5, badly hurting Xander Zayas and dropping him for the 2nd time. Xander barely survived that round, barely made it out, badly hurt and on the run. And it was more of the same in the 6th. Xander Zayas is getting hit way too much, still feeling the effects of those 2 knockdowns. Still trying to gather himself, though fighting back ferociously. You could sense that the end was near in the 6th round, and the show comes to a close in the 7th. Jaren Ennis closes the show and drops Zander for a 3rd time. At that point, there was just no need to go on. The guy's just 23 years old. It's one of those situations where you have to live to fight another day. So the prediction stuck. It was hard to make a decision on this fight, but I went with Jaren Ennis to win a decision. He won by way of knockout. In that way, he exceeded
my expectations.
Rose to the occasion and lived up to the hype, because those of you that follow this channel will know I've spent a good amount of time scrutinizing Boots Ennis's resume and the hype that surrounds it. But he lived up to it last night.
Entering the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list for the first time at number 9.
Bumping 2-division champion Brandon Figueroa down to number 10, effectively bumping off unified champion of Puerto Rico Oscar Collazo off the list entirely, on the premise that Oscar just moved up in weight and is set to vacate his 2 alphabet titles while he vies for another.
Now, he could always re-emerge on the list provided that he becomes a champion at another weight, provided that he wins another alphabet title, so we'll see. But for now, Boots comes in at number 9, and Brandon Figueroa falls down to number 10.
Ahead of Boots is 3-division champion David Benavidez, 3-division champion Emmanuel Navarrete, former undisputed champion and 2-time light heavyweight champion Dimitri Bivol, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Bam Rodriguez, Usyk is still there,
At least momentarily.
and 4-weight 2-time undisputed champion Naoya Inoue of Japan is still ranked at number 1. It would seem that the American fighters are surging on the Ring IQ pound-for-pound list on the premise that 6 of them are American nationals. Bam, Shakur, Devin, David, Boots, and Brandon. Surmising the fight and why Xander Zayas lost, I think he was holding his feet too much in the pocket and too willing to trade too early into the fight. I don't think he was moving his head enough. There was a noticeable difference in speed as well. I do chalk that up to inexperience from Xander Zayas, that he didn't allow himself time to grow into the fight. He got to work right away.
Doing too much, too soon.
Ennis proved to be the sharper fighter of the two, faster in the exchange, faster in the pocket, showed decent powers of recovery.
Though I have to admit that I do question Boots' beard moving forward, his overall punch resistance, because as stated, Xander's not known as a puncher. He's not known as a knockout merchant, so that he was able to hurt him.
Imagine if it was a bigger puncher. Imagine if it was a Sebastian Fandora, for example.
That's what drives him. He like to fight. He can box all day. You saw what he was doing. He was boxing. All right, good brother. Thank you, good brother.
This isn't as impressive as you've ever seen him.
No, you gonna see. All right, my man.
You've seen him more impressive than this.
Oh yeah. Well, no, we're not. Xander was a top guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
I
a
think he
good
was a top
stage.
guy. You know what I mean? What's up, bro? Huh? Oh, my man, he been in the gym.
Who do you want most for him? Who do you guys want to fight most, do you think? Right
Oh,
now?
they said Fandora. I'm Fandora, so he could be next.
So a very jubilant Bozy Ennis suggests that Sebastian Fandora could be next. Do I believe that Boots can beat him? And do I believe that Boots is going to actually get that fight?
No.
Well, I do believe that Sebastian Fundora packs a bigger punch overall than Xander Zayas, a big enough wallop that he could actually hurt Boots if he connects. Overall, I'd pick Boots to win that fight.
I believe they could both hurt each other if they land cleanly, but I think that Boots, he'd have an edge in speed over him like what he had over Xander.
He'd be quicker to the draw, and I think that he would hurt Sebastian. He would get him out of there, because if Brian Mendoza can hurt you, and Brian Mendoza can put you down and put you out, then so can Boots. At least now we know the power is real.
Knocking over stiffs at 147 for as long as I can remember, and debuting against a nobody like Luis Malima, it doesn't really give you a good gauge as to where Boots' power really is. But yesterday we got it, scoring those 3 knockdowns over a big kid, unbeaten, Xander Zayas. That tells a story.
That does it.
But here's the problem. I don't actually think Boots is going to get that fight with Sebastian Fundora. In truth, I wouldn't be surprised if Sebastian Fundora's campaign at 154 comes and goes without a single unification match, because he's always been a protected fighter.
More so protected now. Do you actually think Samson Lukowicz is gonna let Boots get his hands on his guy?
No fucking way.
It doesn't happen. The unification match that might happen for Boots is the Josh Kelly fight. Said to be making a voluntary defense of his newly obtained IBF title against Aguiarco in the not-so-distant future. Beyond that, I think that Matchroom will move to stage the unification match between those two champions. They might bill it as a pay-per-view.
Unfortunately, they might.
When they originally debuted in the US market, Their sales pitch was the death of pay-per-views, and for a little while that was true, but these days, nobody in the industry, nobody in the business, is doing more pay-per-views than they are, and if they're willing to bill Anthony Joshua versus Prenga, a goddamn tune-up fight as a pay-per-view,
Fuck's your problem?
then there's a strong possibility they would bill Boots versus Kelly as a pay-per-view. Now, could Josh Kelly go in there with Boots and do a better job than Xander Zayas just did? Could you give him better odds?
Zayas versus Boots was essentially boxer-puncher versus boxer-puncher. They actually have the same base style, they just implement it differently.
It's not all boxer punchers are created equal. Some boxer punchers lean more into the boxing, others lean more into the punching.
So Boots proved yesterday that he's better with that base style than Xander, but up against Josh Kelly, well, that would be a different kind of fight against a different kind of fighter, because Josh is no boxer-puncher. He's a pure boxer.
Meaning he's going to spend a lot more time on his bike than Xander Zayas did yesterday, staying outside of the pocket, doing his best to stick and move and stay safe, fight long range.
Pure boxers are usually a boxer punches his kryptonite. Pure boxer can make a boxer puncher look really bad, like Karen Chukadzian did when he fought Jaron Ennis the first time.
You saw what he was doing when he did it. He was moving around, not really engaging, forcing Boots to follow him around. Josh Kelly is a fighter of that same ilk. Does he beat Boots, though?
No.
He can make the fight last a little bit longer by getting on his bike and staying on his bike like Karen Chukadzian did when he fought Boots, but I think it ends the same way.
Boots wins.
Yeah, but Josh Kelly did just beat Bakram Murtazaliev. You sure you're not counting that guy out prematurely?
Bakram Murtazaliev was coming off over a year of inactivity going into the Josh Kelly fight, and while Josh Kelly beat the odds in beating him, I think Boots is more versatile. He's got more tools than a Bakram Murtazaliev, so he might look human in spots against Josh Kelly. He might look simple here and there at the start, but eventually I think Boots would get to him and take him out!
I think he beats him. I think he knocks him out. And I think that Matchroom and DAZN jointly, for the sake of their ultimate tier, will move to do that fight and do it as a pay-per-view. We could get it as soon as the end of this year.
No Fundora, though? You don't see that happening?
Nope.
Sebastian Fundora is the guy who ran from a Xander Zayas fight. That wasn't that long ago. Don't you remember when Xander was his mandatory and Xander was pressing for the fight? What did Sebastian do? He gave up his belt. He dropped it. If he didn't want to fight Xander, why would he want to fight the guy that just knocked him out?
You wouldn't.
Never underestimate a PBC fighter's ability to wriggle out of a dangerous fight. Remember that Sebastian Fundora, like David Benavidez, are jointly handled by Samson Lukowicz.
You don't think a turkey bag could make the fight happen between them? A Saudi bag?
Saudi bag and an interest from Turkey LL Sheik and Benavidez versus Opataya was not enough to make that fight happen, so it may not be enough to make this fight happen. This fight between Jaron Ennis and Sebastian Fundora. He may unify one other title at the weight with Josh Kelly, but as far as Sebastian, I don't see that happening.
Nope.
I could totally see Sebastian leaving this weight class in the not-so-distant future and pursuing a fight with his PBC stablemate and current two-weight world champion Arislandi Lara, who's getting long in the tooth, up there in age, and has a title for somebody to take from him.
Remember after he beat Tim Tszyu for the second time, he said he's not actually interested in Undisputed, and he's happy just holding the WBC title. So there's no desire from him to fight Boots Ennis.
I can see Sebastian Fundora moving up to 160 in the not-so-distant future. I could see Xander Zayas, now that he suffered his first professional loss, doing the same thing.
I can see him becoming a champion up there.
Former unified middleweight champion Yanni Beck-Alimkanulai recently took to his social media and stated, Yanni Beck versus Canelo. This fight is my goal. I'm ready to move up to super middleweight. I'm sure my fans want to see this fight too.
What the fuck does he have to do with anything?
While currently under suspension for his anti-doping fiasco, he's still in possession of the brown belt, at least for now, but he's talking about moving up, so when he does, he's gonna drop it. He's gonna vacate it. I could see Top Rank wrangling Xander Zayas a top spot in the WBO's rank standings so that he can fight for the vacant title once Yanni Beck moves up. I could see Xander Zayas fighting for it. I could see Xander Zayas winning it and becoming a champion again at a second weight. I've long maintained all these guys that are at 154 right now are going to eventually all meet at 160. I could see Xander Zayas going there in his next fight. I could see Sebastian doing that. In a not-so-distant future, Xander fighting for the WBO, Sebastian fighting for the WBA.
Reactions to last night's fight are mostly positive, irrespective of who you picked to win going in. Amaudo E. Austin, friend of the channel, said, Xander Zayas' stock rose tonight. Great performance in defeat, showed immense grit and courage after early on deciding that he was going to fight Boots, mostly in the pocket. He will move up to 160 and be a champion again within the next 18 months.
I could totally see that. I don't think losing yesterday hurt Xander Zayas' stock at all. It's just growing pains.
I think too often in the boxing space, people act like you have to remain undefeated to have a successful boxing career.
You don't.
What I think is a byproduct of the Mayweather era, there are fight fans out there that set very unrealistic expectations for what encompasses a successful boxing career. Xander losing yesterday
He can still have a very successful boxing career. I absolutely believe, like Amaudo, he can come back from this and come back better because, need I remind you, Miguel Cotto taking a knee in the Antonio Margarito fight was not the end of Miguel Cotto. Neither was losing to Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather.
he remained a wildly popular fighter among the Puerto Rican fight fans who spent a good deal of money to see him in action in victory or defeat. Need I remind you, he sold 900,000 pay-per-views opposite the ring Canelo after having already lost to Margarito, to Floyd, to Manny.
Came back from those setbacks, so I don't have a doubt in my mind that Xander, at just 23 years old, he can absolutely come back from this and come back better. Just people out there, they act like you gotta be undefeated to have a successful boxing career, and you don't.
He's gonna be fine. And Boots is living up to the hype. He's living up to expectations. I remember when he first signs the Matchroom, there were a lot of people out there. They didn't like that, didn't trust the job that Eddie Hearn was doing. What they were hoping for was that Boots would sign to the PBC, stay with them, following their departure from the Showtime platform.
You mean Showtime giving them the boot? People were angry that he signed to Matchroom, but could you imagine where he would be now if he would have signed to the PBC like they wanted him to, given the current state of affairs at the PBC?
How things have been the last 2 years, he'd be barely active, not buzzing the same way that he is now, admittedly.
His buzz was created on Showtime by attaching his name to the name of Terrence Crawford to serve as a shield to protect Errol Spence Jr., but the buzz was never fully capitalized on. Now you can wholeheartedly say that Boots is in a position to do some very big things moving forward. Yesterday was a fantastic advertisement for the sport of boxing. I think you could have showed anyone that fight from start to finish, casual or hardcore boxing fan, and they would have enjoyed it.
Great advertisement. Action from start to finish with a big finish, unlike some of the more anticlimactic pay-per-views that we've seen. Devin Haney versus Brian Norman, Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez,
Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios. Yesterday's fight, while I was watching it, felt different. It did feel like an old-school boxing match, an old-school barn burner.
Is boxing returning to its roots? Because there's been an active effort to turn it into a luxury item for the wine and cheese crowd.
The sweet science.
Boxing is for the common man, the vulgars and the Gentiles and the pieces of shit like me. Like you. It was a great advertisement yesterday. Boots and Xander Zayas jointly delivered quite the spectacle. Congratulations to them both.